So if all advertising was informative, that would be pretty straightforward. Advertising would be a good thing. It would help consumers find the products that they wanted, learn about the products, learn about the prices, etc. That is clearly not all the case. And so one type of advertising that we're going to talk about and also think about in terms of behavioral economics is persuasive advertising. And so, these are advertising that is trying to change consumers' tastes or get them to buy something that they would not otherwise buy. And then the question is, all right, well, how do we think about that? Do we think about that in terms of, are consumers better off if they bought it, or are they worse off? This has been an obvious question for a long time. Chamberlain back in 1933 says, selling methods which play upon the buyer's susceptibilities, which use against him laws of psychology with which he is unfamiliar, and therefore against which he cannot defend himself, which frighten or flatter or disarm him. All of these have nothing to do with his knowledge. They are not informative. They are manipulative. They create a new scheme of wants by rearranging his motives. And so, that's clearly what we're thinking about here in terms of behavioral economics. And it's always good to remember that behavioral economics is not really anything new to economics. It's been talked about since, Adam Smith, but we sort of moved away from it in the middle part of the 20th century. And so, Della Vigna says, behavioral economics assumes that persuasion leads to different decisions through the change in consumer beliefs that it induces. And so the idea is that these advertisements are getting you to do something that you would not otherwise do and that maybe you don't really want to do. So if we think about behavioral economics, we want to think about a few examples. So one is cognitive dissonance, but then also procrastination, distractibility, and impulsivity. And so cognitive dissonance is the idea that, you can't have two ideas in your head at the same time, right? It creates conflict and turmoil that people don't like. And so, for things that especially might be unhealthy, whether that's unhealthy food or alcohol or cigarettes or whatever it is, they're often portrayed with, really healthy and energetic individuals. And so the idea is, all right, let's get people to ignore the health risks associated with this product and only focus on, the good feelings that they're going to get. Also, and so in terms of procrastination and impulsivity, procrastination is a common problem, so I've heard. Marketers are going to exploit this often either by giving free samples or by, having sales and getting people to do things that they might not otherwise want to do, in terms of their long-term plan. And then obviously advertising plays on impulsivity a lot as well. So getting people to, purchase impulsively, whether that's at the grocery store or online, or, with, infotainment advertising on the television. Another issue is the idea of subjective differentiation. And so the idea of subjective differentiation is that there's actually no difference in the products. But by advertising, you can create an image effect. You can create a name brand so that consumers will differentiate it, whether that's, Coke and Pepsi or a generic brand and a name brand, which we'll talk about in a minute. And the idea is that you're creating either horizontal differentiation, like Coke and Pepsi, right? It's hard to say necessarily that one's better than the other, or even vertical differentiation. And so with vertical differentiation, a name brand can charge a premium price over generic brands. And we do see that in the data. So if you think about things that are literally the same, like aspirin or bleach, so they are chemically identical. They are usually the same, like shape in terms of the aspirin. The bottle's the same in terms of the bleach. And yet the price of Bayer aspirin is 200% higher than unadvertised brand. And the price of Clorox is over 10% higher than the unadvertised brands of bleach. And so, the name brand is powerful and leads to higher profits and is why these companies choose to advertise them.